Hey crafters, this is Nye here. So today what we are going to do is we're going to assemble our 3D 4th of July faux wood firework candle decor. Oh, that was a mouthful. Okay, I'm going to be using my art glitter glue here for all of my gluing. I also have my bone folder that I will be using to make sure that my lines are crisp. My score lines here are crisp. And as you can see, I have all of my pieces cut out. Now there are a lot of pieces for this one because we're not just doing one candle, we're gonna end up with 3 candles when we're finished. And there's lots of stars here. I've got a couple letters. There are a lot of pieces that are going to be used in order to kind of create our flame that's gonna sit on top of our candle. And we've got the 3 pieces of the candle here, the 3 different candles, and there are different sizes. So what you want to do when you get all of your pieces cut out, you want to make sure that you kind of group them together. And so these white pieces here are 3 different sizes as well. And you want to make sure that when you're doing it, you take the pieces that are the red and the blue and that you line them up with the white that fits them, okay? So for this one here, and I guess you could kind of just use mine as a guide and match it accordingly because this smaller blue piece could technically fit on either of these other 2 white pieces here, but it really only goes with this red one that matches up completely with the white candle here. Okay, so these 3 pieces are going to go together. This red and this blue, they go together and they match with the white piece that the red fits completely. Okay, now I'm going to put it off to the side because we're going to have to work in pieces here. And so for this middle one, that's the second one, you're going to see that this blue piece matches up with the red that completely covers this part of the red, and you're only left with these rectangles at the top. And it matches again with the white that the red fits completely, okay? So I'm gonna put this one off to the side too, and we're gonna start with this one. So process of elimination, this is what you're left with. And so this is where we're gonna start, okay? So I've got my score pieces, they're all facing up towards you so you can see them. And that's where I'm gonna start folding first. So I'm gonna take the red and the blue, put it off to the side, and right away, I'm just gonna start folding with the white here. So I've creased the tab, and I'm just going to keep going all the way down using my bone folder here right on all of these score lines that I'm folding. And I'm just using my bone folder to make my score lines crisp. And this is one where, again, you want to make sure that everything here is at a 90-degree angle. It's going to be super important for sturdiness and even just for look, okay? So all I did was I took the flap here and I'm going to put it right here on the inside where it's going to meet to create almost like a rectangle that now has these 2 openings. And before I even start gluing though, I'm going to keep going and glue this, or not glue, fold along the score lines here and these tabs. And I'm going to do the same thing here with the bottom. And once we do this part, oops, I went on an angle there. Okay, phew, good recovery. Once we do this part here, then what we're going to do is we're going to start gluing. Okay, so I've got all of these down, and I'm going to take the tabs and just kind of fold them in to create it like this. And what we're going to end up doing is just kind of creating our rectangle here. So I'm going to hold this part here, and what I'm going to do is now I'm going to fold it together to kind of complete it here. And before I do that, I'm going to take it this way and turn it so that way you guys can see a little bit more. I'm going to add glue right along this tab. And of course, my glue decides that it wants to be clogged now. I haven't been using it all morning. I meant that sarcastically, even though you guys probably don't know, but I've been using it all day. And now all of a sudden it wants to be clogged. There we go. Okay. So I added some glue, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it right on top, right there. And I'm going to hold it and press it down on the inside here to give it a chance to dry. Okay, so hopefully you can see that there. I just want to give these end pieces a chance to dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it down or put it down. I'm going to use my bone folder again and just press on the inside of that tab to make sure that it's drying. What you can also do is just now flatten it and press it here to make sure that it dries. Okay. And then once you have that, now we're ready to glue these tabs and we're going to push them in just like that. So I'm going to add glue to all 3 sides at the same time. I know this might be a little hard for you guys to see because it's white and my background here is white, but I don't have a way to make it a little bit more visible for you guys. All right, so when you go to press it in there, you do just kind of want to make sure that it's getting right to the edge. And then once you have it, if you need to, you can go on the inside and then just push it to make sure that it's bonding there. And then you can turn it to all the sides there on the inside just to make sure that it's sealing. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing at the top part. And again, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that those tabs are going to meet with the edge. So you can definitely test it out first to make sure that, you know, the tabs are not too far out and they're not bent too far in. And then once you have it, you can just add some glue right there to all 3 sides of the top here. So I'm just using my thumbs to, or my thumb and my finger to just kind of hold it there. And then we're going to press it right in and then just kind of give it a chance to dry. And if you have glue seeping like I do there, just take it and wipe it right there along it, and that will kind of help to create a little bit of the seal. That part went down a little bit too far. All right. And so you can, like I said, just press it there and give it a little bit of a seal. Okay. And so once you have that, you'll see that it's like a sealed rectangle, 3D rectangle. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing here, and we are going to fold along the score lines, and you're going to see that we're just going to glue this right on top there. All right, so I'm going to fold again right along the score lines here. And this is where if you want to just use your fingers to fold, that's okay, because this is a small enough of a fold here. You don't necessarily need to use your bone folder to make this one work. All right, so again, we're going to do the same thing. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with the tab. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the tab and to this part here, this first kind of like block. The reason why we're starting here with the tab is when we go to glue it together, we want to make sure that this tab is on the inside and not the outside. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press this tab right here. I'm going to line this part up right there with the top to make sure that it's even. And it went down just a tad, but that's okay. And I also need to make sure that I'm gluing this part down too. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue right here to that one and to this one. And I'm going to flip it so you guys can see, and then just press it down. We're going to do the same thing now with the next block. Of course, I got it on my finger, so I'm just going to use a paper towel there. And we're just going to make sure that we're adding glue everywhere. Now, when we go to add the rest of the pieces, what we want to do is make sure that we pull a little bit on the paper because we want it to be kind of taut and fitted right to the box, okay? And so you can see it right there. It just went perfectly. We're going to do the same thing now with the third one here. Make sure that you're kind of getting to the edges too, so that way you don't have any pieces coming up. And I'm going to pull a little bit again, and then pressing everything down. And now for this last section, you can see that it's going to fit right over. And again, I'm still pulling a little bit when I go to do this part. I'm going to add my glue. I'm going to make sure that I add a little bit extra here because I want it to seal on top of the tab there. And that tab's kind of necessary because what it's going to do is it's going to make it look seamless. So that way, if it ends up being towards the front, you're not like, ooh, I see an opening or a gap there, okay? And so there we go. So that's the first one. Now we're ready to do the blue part. Same thing that we did with the red, just fold right along those score lines there. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start by adding the glue to the tab first. And if you want, you can figure out like where you want it to go. I'm gonna stick mine right here on top of the edging where I just finished. So I'm gonna add glue here to this part and a little bit to this first block. And I'm going to, again, make sure that it's lining up and then just pressing it down. I hope I didn't go out of the camera. Okay. All right. And now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna add some more glue here to the second block. I'm still pulling just a little bit to make sure that it's gonna be taut. And I'm going to do the same thing now with the third block. Still pulling a little bit. And now for the last one. Okay. All right, so there we go. So there's our first one, which is awesome. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to finish one block at a time. And we are going to go through and we're going to look through our stars. So hopefully you kind of have yours laid out too. You're going to see that some of them are almost exactly the same size. And so you want to look for the ones that are the same size, meaning that now what you can do is you can hold them between your fingers here. And I've glue on my hands as well. And you'll see that they will kind of fit one right on top of the other. So I'm going to take these four. They're exactly the same. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a dab of glue to the back and just kind of eyeball it right in the center. I'm gonna turn it and do the same thing now for all four sides here. All right. So it doesn't have to be like perfect. I'm just kind of eyeballing it where I want it to be in the center, but you do kind of want to make sure that it's not like that where it obviously is not in the center, you know, like up in the corner or wherever. You do want to make sure that you're thinking about it when you're placing it down and that it's not going totally off kilter there. All right. All right. So one more. And that will finish our first one. Okay, so there we go. Alrighty, that looks great. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this one off to the side because we finished one, and I'm gonna work on the next one. And so the next one is this one here, and there's a shadow that it's creating, so I don't want that. All right, and so we're gonna basically do the same thing. So I'm gonna speed up the video here just a little bit until I assemble the entire block. It's gonna be pretty much the same thing. When I go to glue everything down though, I'm gonna fold first, and then when I'm ready to glue everything down, I'll slow things back down again, okay? Okay, so now we're ready to glue the red and the blue down to our second block here. All right, so I went ahead and I just folded these down while the video was sped up because it was pretty much very simple there. And we're gonna basically though go ahead and do the same thing that we did with our first block. So I'm adding glue here to the tab, and I'm gonna add glue here to this first part of the block. And as you can see, I'm just kind of going around everywhere. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take the tab here and I'm going to press it down on one side of the block. And we're starting again with the tab first, so that way it doesn't overlap. All right, and I'm just gonna push it up there a little bit, and then I'm pressing it down here on this first side. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the same thing, adding glue to the next block. And when I go to press this one down, again, you want to remember to kind of pull on the paper a little bit so it's a little taut, and that way it fits seamlessly right to the next side, all right? Now we're going to do the same thing here with the third one. And then again, just pulling on it and then pressing it down. And now for the last one, go a little extra with the glue right at the edge because you want to make sure that it lays nicely right on top of the tab. And then we're going to press it down. Okay, so there we go. That's the red for the second block. Now we're going to do the same thing with the blue. Now, the blue here is going to be a little different because I didn't add any score lines here, and this we want to make sure that it kind of sits towards the center. And so you're gonna, again, have to kind of eyeball where you want it to be. You don't want it to be too far to the top because then you can see that it's not balanced. The red is not balanced on your block. You don't want it to be too far to the bottom because then the top would not be balanced. So you do kind of want to eyeball it somewhere in the center, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, but you definitely don't want the extreme to the top or to the bottom, all right? So you just kind of want to eyeball it somewhere in the center here. And we're going to again start with the tab and then that first block here. All right. And then you're going to just press it down. And so again, when you're doing this piece now, you kind of want to be looking here at your first side, and that looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and press it down right there. And then I'm going to flip it upside down so you guys can see the gluing. And I'm just going to go ahead, add a bit of glue there, pull, and then do the third side, same thing. And then pull one more time. And then for the last one right here, I'm going to pull and press, okay? Now, the white that we're gonna add to this one is really just our letters, USA. So I'm gonna grab these here, and I'm gonna put it this way. And let's put that one there like that. And then we're gonna press this one down. I'm gonna flip it over so it's this way. Now, again, when you're adding your letters, you do wanna make sure that you're not too far to the top, but that you're kind of eyeballing it and giving it a little bit of spacing between each of them, but that you're kind of centering them and it's not totally off. You could go and do something where it's on an angle. You could add some stars to this one. I didn't add any extra stars for it, but you definitely could if that's what you want. And I'm going to stick my letters straight up and down, one right on top of the other. All right, so there's my U. I'm going to add the S now and just adding a little bit of glue here to the back of these. And I'm going to tilt that one just a little bit. And now for the A. All right. Okay, So that looks good. And that finishes our second block here. So again, I'm gonna put this one off to the side and let's work on our last one. All right, so again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna speed up the video while I do the, while I fold and score the white piece. And then I'm gonna just fold the red and the blue. And then when I'm ready to glue them down, I'll slow it back down again. Okay, so here we are. We're ready now to again start gluing things down. All right, so like I did with the other two, I'm gonna add glue now to this tab and to this first part here, as well as these like longer rectangles that are attached, all right? And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna hold it here, I'm gonna press it down so that way these are all lining up. And there's the first one. All right, and so I'm gonna flip this so you guys can see. And again, I'm just gonna add glue now to this second block here, adding glue everywhere. I'm gonna pull on my paper just a little bit to make sure that it's taut, and just pressing it down. And then we're gonna do the third side. And pulling again, making sure it's taut. And now for this last piece. And again, I'm adding a little bit extra right here at the edge to make sure that it really bonds to the tab piece that's there. And again, just pressing it down here. All right. Okay, so that looks great. And now we're gonna do the same thing here with the blue. And I like to cover up the red underneath. So I'm gonna stick with the same side here that the tab is for the red. And I'm gonna go ahead and line it up right here. And actually, I think I'm gonna go the other way. So hopefully I didn't mess it up. So I went right next to it instead. I decided to change my mind there last because I didn't want the two tabs right on top of each other. All right, so I'm adding more glue and I'm pulling. I want to make sure too that this is lining up here on the front because I feel like it's slightly off. It is just a little bit. I think I went too far down somewhere. All right, but that's okay. It'll still work. I'm just adding my glue to the third side, pulling again. And now for this last section here. Okay. All right. So then once we have this one's kind of the big one that has all the stars for it. All right, so when you go to add them down, you don't have to have as many stars as I cut out here, but I just thought like this one would be really fun if it had lots of stars. So you know what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and add some glue kind of everywhere where I want it to go. And then I'm just going to press my star down. And I'm going to stick this one up here. And make sure that you're putting them all on different angles. That'll really add a look to your design and your craft, and it won't look so uniform. Because sometimes what we want is just to have a little bit of variation with our projects. I'm going to put 3 on this one here. I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to use this big one like right there. And there's no rhyme or reason, like I said, with how you want to, I'm going to stick this tinier one up there, with how you want to do this. You know, just have fun with it the way that you want to have fun with it. And make it your own. You don't even have to use as many stars as I'm using. All right. So I'm just going to keep going, adding some of these down here. Let's rotate this one since that one's going that way. And let's put that one there and this one here. And I have 4 stars, but I'm going to stick with the odd numbers that I've been working with. I'm just going to add this one here. I should have probably gone a different way, but it's okay. It's just how I'm thinking it through. Okay. All right, so I've got this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and use that 4th one, even though I think it's probably just an extra one that I had here on my table. All right, so now we've got all of our wood pieces here, and what we're ready to do is we're ready to go ahead and add our flames. So I went ahead before I started the video, and I did 2 of them because they kind of take a while. And what we're going to do is we are going to take these larger yellow pieces, or whichever color that you use. I used yellow for mine. And you'll see that there's a score line right down the center of all of these. There were so many score lines with this one. But it's going to look super cool when we're done. And you'll understand why there were so many score lines, as you can already see. So all I'm doing is I'm folding these right on the score line here that's going right down the center of this larger yellow one. And what I'm going to do with this smaller one, the smaller piece here, it also has a score line right down the center. So I'm just using my hand and I'm folding that one right down the center as well. And there's 5 pieces for each wood block here. And you do kind of want to make sure that you have the 5 pieces, okay? And what we're going to do next is we're just going to add a little bit of glue to both sides of this smaller piece. And then we're going to place it right in here in the center, making sure that both bottoms line up together. And we're going to do the same thing for all 5 pieces here, just making sure that the bottoms are all lining up and that it's in the center where the score lines are, that those score lines are meeting. Oh, and I missed one. So let's do this last one. And just adding the glue. And again, just making sure that it's lining up right at the bottom. And for this one as well. Once again, just making sure that it's lining up right at the bottom. All right, and now for our last one. Again, just making sure it's lining up. And now, once we have all 5 pieces, what we're going to do is we're going to glue these down together. So I'm going to add glue right here to one side first. We don't want to do both sides at the same time. And we're going to take a second piece and we're just going to match it right up. Again, just checking to make sure that everything's lining up at the bottom, making sure that it's flat on that side. Adding glue again to one side, then pressing it down once more, making sure that it's lining up. And now for this next piece, we're going to do the same thing again. making sure that it's lining up. And now for this last one, this fifth piece here, this is where we're going to add the glue on both sides. This one's starting to slide. So I'm going to add glue here on this side as well as this side. And then we're going to just, once more, make it line up right in the center. And there you go. You can see how we've just kind of created like a 3D flame. Okay, so once you have those glued down, or once you have them glued together, what we're going to do now is we're just going to take our glue and add a little bit here at the bottom, and then just press it down right in the center. Now this is where you do kind of want to hold it for maybe like 10 seconds and just give it a chance to bond there, because there's not a lot of paper. I kind of played with this one there. There's not a lot of paper there that's going to adhere it to each other. And so this is where you're going to need to use a little bit extra glue. If you wanted to, you could use hot glue, but your regular paper glue should be sufficient enough. All right, let's do this one here. If you're finding that it's not working, that's okay. Like I said, you can use hot glue. This one I might end up having to use hot glue, but I don't have my glue gun on, so I might have to fix it towards the end before I take my pictures. All right, and so for the last one, again, just press it down. That one was easy. Let's see if I can just add a little bit more glue here to make it work. Okay. And so once you've glued down your flames, you're done. And this is just a fun little craft then for us to put out for decor. It's not going to be one of those that we can like fold and just put away really easy, but it's really cool and it's super cute. So I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have fun crafting.